You've probably heard the phrase, go slow to go fast. This is especially true when developing e-learning experiences. Have you ever started to develop an e-learning experience only to find out that the graphics and the layouts you were envisioning don't really work in the way that you expected? Well, you can avoid this pitfall by creating visual mockups first. Visual mockups kind of give us an idea of what the final product is going to look like and saves us time in that development piece and just helps us know that our vision is going to come together the way we expect it. Figma is the perfect tool to create these visual mockups, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Hello, I'm Sabrina, and I'm an instructional designer and bootcamp pro on Devlin's team. I help people every day in their upskilling journey to become instructional designers. Developing visual mockups or visual representations of the final product is my favorite part of the development process when it comes to learning experiences. I really like this part because this is where it starts to feel more real and you get to see your vision come to life. And you get to test those graphics and layouts to make sure that you are creating an engaging and user-friendly experience for your learners, which is super important. It's also nice as the developer because you're already putting in this work to make sure that your graphics, layouts, colors, buttons, everything works before you move into an authoring tool to add that interactivity. Because when you get there, that's all you're worried about. Everything is already set and ready to go. When it comes to mockups, you've probably heard the terms lo-fi mockups or hi-fi mockups, but what do those terms actually mean? Let's talk about it. So, lo-fi versus hi-fi mockups. Lo-fi mockups just stand for low fidelity mockups, which kind of describes what it is. They're really simplified, use basic shapes to represent elements, typically grayscale. That description is probably sounding familiar if you've watched the last video about creating wireframes in Figma. If you haven't watched it, we'll link it down below so you can check that out. But the reason it sounds familiar is because wireframes are lo-fi mockups. Very basic, just consisting of the essentials that we need. Nothing else. Just little placeholders to get an idea for the layout. Hi-fi mockups stand for high fidelity mockups. So as you can imagine, those are going to be much more detailed. They consist of the graphics that we sourced, the colors and fonts and button styles, all the things that we chose in our style guide. They consist of all of that here. It's the hi-fi mockups are going to most represent that final product, which is why I really love creating the visuals because it really does come to life here. Those lo-fi mockups and wireframes are kind of just that beginning, the blueprint piece where we get to see what layouts are going to work best, and then the hi-fi mockups, we build off of those wireframes to make sure those graphics and colors, everything from the style guide is going to work, and we're creating this really nice, engaging, effective, user-friendly learning experience for our learners. All right, now that we know the difference between lo-fi and hi-fi mockups, let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to create high-fidelity mockups today, and we're going to use a wireframe that we created in the last video and use that as our blueprint to create a high-fidelity mockup. But before we get too far into it, let's kind of review the process of where we are in our whole ID process. So we've conducted the needs analysis, right? We've talked with our client, we're figuring out what their problem was, all those good things. We decided that a scenario-based learning experience is going to be the best thing, designed those learning objectives, wrote our storyboard, started digging into designing and developing the visual mockups. We created a style guide, and if you haven't seen that video, we will make sure to link to the whole Figma playlist so that you can catch up on any of the videos you missed. Last time we created wireframes. Now we are going to take the wireframe that we created for the question slide, and we're going to use that as our blueprint to create the high fidelity mockup. So let's get into it. Let's move over to Figma. Here is our Figma file. Opens up to our mood board and our style guide that we've created already. Screenshot of our storyboard. Here are the wireframes that we worked on last time. Specifically, we worked on this question slide going through some different versions. I've already gone ahead and created a page for the hi-fi mockups because I've added some things there already. But to add a page, to remind you, we just press this plus sign up here. It adds a new page, double click, and you can rename it. So here is the mockup page where I'm going to design and develop the hi-fi mockup for our question slide. I do have stuff on here already, like I mentioned. This is my assets frame. So I like to gather a lot of the graphics that I'm going to be using. First, pull everything together that I can, things that I think are going to work, and then start building my slides. This, of course, is not all of the graphics for the entire project. It's just going to be for the slide that we're building here together. But typically that's what I would do, is source a bunch of graphics. I use FreePic for a lot of my images. It's been very, very good at coming up with whatever I need. And so I take everything from FreePic. What I do is I'll usually like search for stuff and then make a little collection, because you can put everything in a folder. And then I start bringing things into Adobe Illustrator to edit if I need to, or if they have SVG versions, which are scalable vector graphics, meaning that you can separate the layers and scale it without it getting pixelated or blurry because it's a vector. If you can get an SVG version, you can pull those straight into Figma, which is cool. So like the steam, the fire, and the water here are all vector images, or sorry, SVGs. And what that means is, let's look at the steam. It separates it by the layers. So if I go into the objects, and let me zoom in on that steam, I can like separate all the pieces. So maybe I like this steam. I can copy and paste it and just have that one. So I don't need something like Adobe Illustrator to separate those images. If I can have an SVG version of the image, I can pull it straight into Figma. And the other thing too that's nice about that, so it's all of the pieces. So like if I isolate this little piece down here, I can change the color even. And so I can even make those edits too, which is pretty cool. So if you can find an SVG version, you can pull those straight into Figma, make edits, pull things apart. And with it being a vector, it's not going to pixelate. So you can see if I zoom in all the way down to see a pixel, we still have those smooth lines because it's a vector. The other images I have on here, like I said, I pulled these from FreePic and did some editing in Adobe Illustrator. These are PNGs. So the difference is the size I exported it is the size that they are. So if I zoom, you can see it starts to pixelate, and it's not as crisp. We can't do the cool stuff here. We can't scale it the same way we can with an SVG. So those are some different options, but these are just some of the assets. If I was building a bigger project, I'd probably separate it out a little bit more, just like I'd have a space for scenes, a space for like props, and then maybe different ones for my different characters, just so I can have it nice and organized and pull things that way. But for this case, we're building one slide, so I think having this one asset frame is going to work for us just perfect. All right, so the fact that we can pull in PNGs and SVGs and like the different image types just goes to prove again how powerful Figma is. And if you are brand new to Figma, I did do an overview of Figma, just how to get started in Figma. And you can find that video, again, linked in the description or in the playlist if you missed it. So definitely check it out if this is the first video you're jumping into. And then you can get all caught up in everything Figma. Okay, so we are going to build a high fidelity mockup. So we're going to create that question slide to, again, it's going to look like what we want for the final product. I said I wanted to build it off of the wireframe that we did. So we had one version, didn't really work with our storyboard, but I wanted this version here. So I'm going to select my storyboard. I'm going to select this frame. It looks like this one here isn't selected, but if we look, it looks like it is selected, but if we look over here, it isn't. I'm going to go ahead and Control C to copy, bring it over to my mockup page, and paste with Control V. So those assets are a lot bigger than my slide, which is fine. That's totally okay. I'm gonna actually bring these together. Let's just do a space of 200. All right, so I have my storyboard here that's going with the slide. I have my wireframe, and let's go ahead and make our frame for the high fidelity mockup. So I can come up here and click frame, or I can also just use the keyboard shortcut and press F. If you're interested in learning the keyboard shortcuts, we did create a keyboard shortcut, like a quick little guide that you can download, and we'll make sure to link that down in the description also. So let's create it. Everything I've been doing so far for this project has all been a 16:9 ratio for the frames. So I'm doing 1280 pixels by 720 pixels. And let's go ahead and name this. Well, this is going to be slide 1.6, question 1. Let's do version 1 just in case. Since this is the wireframe, I'm going to just label it as WF. I mean, it's clear visually that it's the wireframe, but if I were to export this and have it as a file, I think I want to know that this is the wireframe. This will be my hi-fi mockup. Okay. This is great. Not style guide, storyboard, our wireframe that we're going to use as the blueprint of placing things. But I created a style guide too, so I know the colors I'm going to use and the fonts. That seems important to have here. So I do have these different pages where things are separated out, and I'm pulling it all to the hi-fi mockups. It's possible that I just put these all in one page. I like the organization of having these separated, so I'm going to pull everything in, and then when I don't need any more, I'll take it out. So let's grab our style guide. So same thing, going to select the frame, Control C, go back to the mockups. Let's do it here. And that time I just right-clicked and then select Paste here. All right. Gonna move it over here. Okay, so I have that all set. In the style guide video, I did set our fonts and color styles so that I don't have to keep using the eyedropper, but I do want it here so that I can pull my buttons and things like that, just so that I have everything all in one place. Okay, now we're ready to get started. So the first thing I see in my wireframe is there's that big X in the background to represent my background. Here is my background image. Control C. Click in the frame, Control V. Too big, so let's scale it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think we're not seeing, if I zoom in here, we're not seeing much of the floor. So I think actually I want to bottom align this. Yeah, I like that better. So there's not too much going on up here, nothing to really worry about. So I'm thinking of like character placements and things like that. If I place a character here, I kind of want them to have some like ground to stand on. So I want the ground to be visible. So I like this. Let's go ahead and crop this. So what I just did is double click the image and this comes up, and then we can select crop and I'll bring it down. And it's nice when you have it in a frame, so it's just gonna snap right into place, which is great. So, all right, there we go. All right, now let's go ahead and this was going to be the fire, because part of the storyboard thing is that like to create a sense of urgency, this fire is going to keep growing, and I wanted it to be visible. So I have two options of like a stove here, but I think where our question placement is, it's going to cover that. But I think this one is going to be a better spot. So let's grab this fire, Control C. Again, click in here, Control V. All right, we don't want it to be that drastic just yet. We're creating the slide as if like we just landed on it. So we want this fire to be a little bit subtle. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. You know, nothing too crazy that you may see in a kitchen, but it's looking a little bit bigger than we would like it to be. All right, I'm gonna add in our characters. So this is a busy and bustling kitchen. We're gonna have pot on the stove, small fire. Yeah, okay, so let's start adding in some characters. So, so when I was sourcing graphics, what I was thinking is maybe we'd have a character who is like going to deliver something, but then like someone finds out that there's the fire and he's like freaking out. So he's delivering this, he sees the fire, maybe it gets worse, he freaks out. The same thing here. I thought maybe this this character could just be like going about her business. I was thinking ahead of like if we throw water on the fire, I think that's like one of the consequences coming up from one of the choices. So I was just kind of thinking ahead of like, what images am I gonna need for this piece? And then of course we want our mentor character if we were to create the mentor slide. Right now, just focus on the question though. So let's go ahead and let's grab this character here. So same thing, I just selected her, Control C. Gonna go here, so click in, Control V. That's, I think she might actually be maybe just the right height. I'll adjust things as I go. Maybe, well, we can't have her here. She can't go behind those. So let's put her, I'm gonna try to look here to get her perfectly lined up. That's pretty good. Maybe over a bit. There, so it looks like she just grabbed off of here. She might be a little tall, I may adjust that, not sure yet. All right, let's grab this guy. Control C, Control V. He's taking a pizza. Yeah, they look a little big for this scene. So let's do this. I'm gonna select them both and scale it down together. That way I'm keeping the proportions the same. So what I did here when I was in Adobe Illustrator, I pulled them from the character packs and edited them as I needed. Then when I brought them here, I made sure to try to get them to be about the same height, making sure everything lined up nicely. So I want to keep that scale the same. So that's why I'm going to select them together and scale them. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now we gotta line her back up real quick. Okay, that looks good. Let's maybe move him. He's going a little bit. Off the screen. Okay, I kind of like that. Like the feel of that. Okay, we've got our characters in. Exciting. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and add the important piece, this question. So what I can do actually is I'm gonna copy this rectangle and bring it right over. What's nice is that's going to keep the placement the same. So if I check, so if I use Alt and then mouse over, it's 60, 50, and 60. 60, oh, almost. 50 and 60. And change that X value. Okay, there we go. Oh, so our character back there does go away a bit. So let's add some transparency to this. We're gonna have to break this and let's try 90. Yeah, so we still get the scene from the background, but it's not too distracting. If that transparency feels like too much, once we start adding the words on there, we can always like bump up the opacity to make it not too transparent. Now, let's go ahead and start adding in our words and things like that. So, oh, this is going to be our mentor. This is going to be our text. Let's go ahead and add in the text. And I want to use my styles. I want to use that subheading size. And let's see how that works. Oh, I should have looked to see what my text was first. What do you do? Okay, let's try that again. Okay, I clicked up here for the text. You could just press T. All right, and I'm going to, it's set as heading 2. What do you do? Okay, now if I look, we had this, oops. We had this 81 pixels, 55 over. Let's see. Just gonna worry about the 55 right now. I'll add my mentor button and then I can do the centering after. Okay, and our mentor was 50 and 50. And then how I'm getting those red lines, again, is just by pressing Alt and mousing over. All right, and then just using my arrow keys to move these to get it all pixel perfect. Okay, now I'm going to hold down Shift, select what would you do, center those. All right, looking good so far. I do remember in the wireframes, I left this comment that that mentor button could be bigger. And now seeing it here, I definitely still think that is the case. So let's bump this up to 125. Okay, I like that. Let's center these again. I'm not sure how I feel about that margin there. So if I keep it with the 50 and 50, maybe. Let's keep it there for now. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I want to start pulling in these rectangles for my answer choices. And let's see, this was 50 and 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. And from here, it was 50. And it's gonna have to be 25 because we made that bigger. I don't think I like that crowding. Okay. Yeah, let's go with this for now. Not sure if I'm a fan of it. Okay. Well, these are gray. Doesn't really go with our color palette. So let's try. Let's go with the light accent color. And make sure that the stroke is going to be our dark neutral. Oh, should have did that here as well. Okay, it is. Cool. Okay, I like that better. Let's go ahead and add some text. Oh, I should see what the answer choice is first. Choice A, pour water on the fire. I think for this one, instead, I want to use our body text. Yeah, I think that looks better. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. I'm going to select both of those, holding down Shift, Control G to group them. And I'm going to call this Choice A. All right, now I can just hold down Alt, drag this, and pull it down. How far were these apart? 25. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool, cool. All right, choice B, cover the fire with a metal lid. Okay. Well, I centered this one, but I think it does look better left aligned, the text. Let's try 25. So I can use the arrows, move it pixel by pixel, but again, if I hold down Shift and press the arrow, it's going to move it 10 pixels at a time. Let's try 25. Oh, too far. Okay. That definitely fits better for this second one. Could still center it, we'll see. But I think right now it's okay. I'm not liking the spacing though, from the mentor to here and from the mentor up. That should be better. It's 25 and 50. So we're not going to get it exact. That's better, I guess. I don't know. Not a fan of that. Right, same thing, I'm going to hold Alt, bring it down. And, oh, let's change the name of this one before I forget. And this one, choice C. And choice C is alert everyone in the kitchen. And since we copied it, it should be good to go. 25 away. Okay. That's our question slide, following our wireframe. And as I've been building this, I'm not liking this layout. In the wireframe, it looked, it was looking okay. It felt okay. But I don't think I like that. Okay. I'm gonna go off camera and build another version of this, see what I think, and then I'll come back and explain those design changes that I made. Okay, so here is version 2 that I just created. And there are a few things that changed, not just the way the question is. So I was thinking we would not want our little chef back here who is very close to the fire. We may not want her that close because we want our learner to be the one who spots the fire and has to act, right? If she's here, she may be the one who responds to it, but we want to put our learner in that situation. Like, she's distracted, she's the closest, but she's distracted. This guy was holding a pizza. It is up to us, the learner, to save the day. So I moved her a little bit further down, and it's nice because now we can see her a little bit better, that she's not just like peeking over the answer choice. And then I was also thinking that there's probably some kind of commotion, made the fire a little bit bigger, because maybe before this, the fire erupts. And if it's getting a little big, we can probably hear it. And so maybe this guy's a little bit shocked, because in the storyboard also, if you remember, I said that the fire is going to grow as time passes. So I think it would be really cool to have him here, just kind of witnessing this. He's frozen in fear. It's up to us, the learner, to save the staff, save the kitchen, and rescue them. So I'm kind of liking this feel better. So I did change just those two pieces. Now let's talk about that question prompt. So I wasn't really liking this spacing. I also just didn't really like, I should have pulled it over too so that it lined up, but that still just doesn't feel right, because now that padding there is 50 to 30. It just felt off, and I'm not really a big fan of that. What I did here instead was I kept our little box, our prompt box, to hold everything. The size is a little bit different. I made it a little bit taller so that I can account for some of these things and give some more space and things like that. I did go ahead and center the text because I liked the question centered. I did try it left aligned and it looked okay, but with having the mentor button up here centered, it felt a little bit off. So I went ahead and centered everything, and I really like the way that looks and it feels. It feels a lot more balanced. I kept the mentor icon the same, 125 by 125 pixels, same size, and I just like this feel a lot better. Like it flows really nicely. Comes in, we have the question, we can select, or we can choose to get help from our mentor. So I really like the way this feels. It doesn't change anything too much. It's just that slight little change that allows us to just have everything here nice and focused. And then I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I did change. This was 90% opaque, I guess, like it had some transparency, but I went from 90 and changed it to 95. And I think I like that better because it does kind of pull that question a little bit more and not too much of the background. It's still slightly there, but not too much of it. So I'm really liking this. And I'm going to, again, go off screen real quick, build out a few more, and I will be right back. Okay, I've gone ahead and built out a few more slides. So I made a copy of this one 1.6 and pulled it down. And I went ahead and made one of our like prompt slides, just so we can kind of see what happens. And this was just the slide before. So I made the prompt to see what's going on, did the question slide, brought that down, and then if we did pour water on it, I started to build out one of the consequences. So this is the second part. The first part would be the animation where we see the water being poured. This is the second part that spreads the fire, and we get to see the text. I was also trying to use the button that we chose in the style guide here, or that we designed in the style guide, but it wasn't really flowing with what I wanted. So I went ahead and added a shadow. So I need to make sure that I go back and change that in my style guide, but I'm kind of liking this feel. Without the shadow, it was kind of feeling like it was blending in a little bit too much with the background, but I'm liking that shadow. I think it's working pretty good. And so I made sure to keep that. And then this one, the fire is going to continue to spread, and then our final consequence is that we have to have the fire department put it out, and there's too much damage, so it's closed. And I have in the storyboard that it fades to black, so thought this would work here. And this one here doesn't have that shadow, so I may just have to add a variation into my style guide here about the buttons. But here are some of our mock-ups. Now, what I would continue doing is going through my wireframes and building out the slides, the high-fidelity mock-ups for these slides, and then send this over to the stakeholders to get some feedback from them to make sure everything is coming together as expected. And also, you just want to make sure anytime you send it to stakeholders to be very open-minded, because this whole process is very iterative. They may ask you to make changes, and that's just the whole process, right? The design process is very iterative, where you just continue to make changes, like we did here. And that wireframe was looking okay, but didn't really work for the high-fidelity mockups, and we had to adjust, and that's totally okay. Creating a style guide and wireframes beforehand really sped up the process of developing that hi-fi mockup, because we had everything we needed. And in turn, creating these really solid hi-fi mockups where we are testing those layouts, testing the graphics, all of those little tests and getting something really solid is going to save us time in development, because now I don't need to worry about adjusting characters or adjusting the spacing or changing the layout because it didn't work the way I expected. Everything is solid now in these hi-fi mockups, so now I can move into an authoring tool, just worry about adding interactivity, making things clickable, things like that. Everything is going to go so much quicker. If you are wanting to speed up your process in Figma, be sure to download the free Figma keyboard shortcut doc that we will link down below. And the next video is going to blow your mind, because we're not just going to turn this into a prototype in Storyline. We're going to use the prototyping feature in Figma to create a simple prototype with the slides that we've been developing. So I'm really excited. Subscribe to make sure that you are notified when that video comes out, and I'm really excited to show you that process. So I will see you there. Bye.